Let's speak to our senior political analyst about this, Marwan Bishara, who is joining us from London. Marwan, I want to ask you about that comment first from Trump. At one point, as Heidi said, he talked about the U.S. taking over Gaza, building the Riviera of the Middle East in Gaza. Now he says no one will be forced to leave the Gaza Strip. What do you make of this change of tune?
It wasn't serious from the very beginning. It was an off-the-cuff remark. It was rather idiotic, to be honest. It's illegal, unethical, inhumane. And at the time, he repeated it like he was repeating his new plan. It's like, it's great. It's like no one have ever seen before. Everyone I spoke to told me it was a great idea and so on and so forth. But really, it was just an improvisation. It was Netanyahu that made a vision out of it that needs to be implemented. Trump forgot about it since he mentioned it. So now he's basically walking it back, and that's a good thing.
So it's a good thing he's walking it back. He's certainly getting a lot of praise for this plan. The first phase is due to be implemented in the next few days. But if it is to succeed, this plan, going forward, what do you think needs to happen for it to succeed, not just for the first phase, but beyond the first phase?
Let's just underline that very important point that you just mentioned. The fact that he walked back an idiotic statement doesn't make it a good deed. It just makes he is no longer about to do something totally illegal and criminal, right? That's not something to be praised for. If you don't do something criminal, you don't get praised for. You just don't do something criminal. And I think it's the same idea with what's been happening the past 8 months. The United States under Trump, like under Biden before him, was complicit in genocide. It armed Israel, financed Israel, and protected Israel in the diplomatic arena as it carried genocide. For the United States to stop doing that, that's not something to be praised for. You need to stop carrying genocide. I mean, there's nothing peaceful or wonderfully, great and heroic and divinely about stopping genocide that you are committing. So I think we need to, on the one hand, be happy that America is no longer supporting genocide, that it is bringing about an end to the war, but at the same time, be a bit reasonable, a bit sober about the idea that it's the same Trump that was there the past 8 months that is today, and it's the same Netanyahu that's been there for the past 15 years and that is today. These two characters have not changed. They've simply been isolated. They've been proven wrong, and they're trying to fix the problems that they created over the past 2 years.
Right. Now, one of the issues that remains is the future of Gaza. There were also talks in Paris today to discuss the future of Gaza, and the negotiators have deferred these discussions on the future and who governs Gaza specifically until after the first phase. Is this sequencing wise? And what about Palestinian agency? I mean, it cannot be ignored going forward. They have to be involved in the governance of Gaza and the occupied West Bank. How does that happen, Marwan?
So here you have now the first phase, ending the war, exchanging hostages, allowing the humanitarian aid in. I don't think it should have been complicated. It's not complicated. It's a bit of maps, a bit of names. You just do the deal and you declare end of the war. I think that should be behind us in a matter of days, weeks, maybe more, but it should be behind us. And then we come to the second/third phase, which I think is the more important one. And that involves the future of security and polity in Gaza and then /West Bank, right? I think these are probably the most important thing about the deal. After that, then it's expanding it to the region, Abrahamic Accord and what have you. That's not going to happen until the future of Gaza, politically and security-wise, is figured out, as well as the West Bank. And hence you require Palestinian agency. It doesn't work without Palestinian agency. And the Palestinians have been proven more than capable to run their own affairs and to run even their security affairs. They're proving that even under occupation, but also later on under occupation and the peace process. In fact, they are some of the most able people in the region, and some of the most educated people in the region. Right. And some of the ministers they've run, regardless of the very shady relationship with Israel, But internally, I think they are doing better than most Arab countries, most regional countries would do. So I think Palestinian agency is necessary. It's something, by the way, that Hamas and the PLO have insisted on, that there has to be Palestinian agency. Hamas says that there has to be a Palestinian council of various independent technocratic groups from Palestine that runs the future affairs of Gaza, and of course later on with Fatah and the PA run the affairs of the West Bank.
Marwan, as we're speaking, we're watching some pictures of the skies over the Gaza strips, and in the last few minutes we've seen explosions in the skies over Gaza. And what we've been hearing from our correspondents today is that even with this agreement, the Israeli attacks continue in Gaza. There is nothing to say that once the captives are released, that Netanyahu won't go back to this war in Gaza. Are there any guarantees? Are you hopeful today that that's not going to happen?
Look, we've seen it in Lebanon, right? Since they signed the ceasefire deal with Lebanon, we've seen Israel return and bomb Lebanon like there's no tomorrow, right? So it's been happening. We have a precedent of only the past several weeks and months repeating itself, where Netanyahu violates the agreement with Lebanon every day, saying it's defensive. I think he can use that same justification in Gaza and say, defensively, we're acting defensively. We have to protect our security. There's nothing sacred about the agreement more than our security. He always finds that kind of justification. So no, he cannot be trusted. Absolutely cannot be trusted. And that's why it's difficult for the Palestinians at this point in time. At the one hand, they want to celebrate end of the war. On the other hand, they continue to mourn their loved ones, the ones that died over the past two years, and the ones that continue to die. It's an awful, awful situation for the Palestinians to continue to live in such uncertain reality dictated by others, mostly criminals like Netanyahu and so on. So it's something to be difficult, and there has to be guarantees. The Arab and Muslim majority countries need to step in and really put their foot down on those issues, guarantees. Europeans need to do the same. You need a certain internationalization of this plan, because someone needs to guarantee Trump's guarantees.
Thank you so much, Marwan, for your analysis. As always, good to hear what you're thinking about the situation in the region. Marwan Bishara, our senior political analyst.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news, expert insight. Like, share, stay ahead.